When I was in college, I met this guy that became absolutely obsessed with me. Didn't matter that I was dating someone else, didn't matter that I told him to leave me alone. It got so bad I actually had to fail my classes and leave campus. He was getting his associate's degree in cosmetology, and we met after a class one spring morning. I was friendly to him, introduced him to my boyfriend at the time, Craig, and we went our separate ways. I remember telling him I thought it was neat that he was going to become a hairstylist. Not many guys I knew got into the field. He was a little awkward and shy, clearly still didn't know how to talk to girls, but he thanked me and said he hoped to see me in class soon. That night he sent me a friend request on Facebook, and honestly, I didn't see the harm in responding. His profile said he was from the same neighborhood as me growing up, and I decided to be friendly and asked about his family. He responded almost right away, teasing that I had stalked his profile and said that he grew up almost a block from where my parents lived. It's crazy that we never met before, I told him. He admitted that he didn't know me or remember ever seeing me, but he did say that he thought my last name sounded familiar. Nothing about the conversation would have led me to think that he was going to go completely bonkers in less than 24 hours. I told him that I hoped to get to know him better in class and logged out. I always turn my phone off at night so I can get a good night's sleep, even my folks know that. If it's an emergency I can't help anyway, I always say. Next day, this dude had sent at least 300 messages. Probably more. My phone blew up with all these notifications, and it took me a minute to figure out what was happening. I read through them as fast as I could, and honestly, I don't remember much about it except that he went off the rails very quickly. First apologizing about not knowing me, then making up experiences where he thought maybe he did know me. Then he was rambling about his life, his problems, and how no one understood him. I was beginning to feel he was mentally unstable, if the plethora of messages wasn't already evidence enough. Late in the wave of texts, he was becoming angry that I was not responding. He was so mad that he started threatening me, my boyfriend, and even my parents. Rambling about how he knew that I was a pathetic excuse for a daughter, that I would never amount to anything, and that I should just give up and die. It freaked me out pretty bad, so I just deleted and blocked him immediately. I told Craig about it, and he told me not to get too worried. I will stay with you when you go from class to class. We have the same schedule, so if this weirdo does try something crazy, I'll be right there, he told me. That sounded good and all, but the next day Craig had to go see about his car. He never was good at keeping his word. So when I went to class, this dude followed me the whole way. He kept his distance and didn't say anything, but I knew he was following me. He sat behind me in the seminars we attended too. I mentioned it to the teacher, not wanting to cause any problems, just that I was freaked out. The teacher actually had the audacity to call him out right there in class in front of everyone and tell him to say that he would stop bothering. I felt humiliated and frustrated because I knew that this guy was borderline sociopath from those texts I had gotten. And immediately after class he confronted me, asking why I ratted him out. Thought we were friends, he told me. I tried to make him leave me alone, told him that his messages scared me a little, and he just became more irritated. He even tried to follow me into the ladies' restroom. I remember he was cursing and getting angry, banging on the door and telling me that he just wanted to talk. I got on my phone and called security. The college made a big fuss about it because when the officer did come, this dude lied his way out of stalking me, claiming that I had stolen something from him. He had pictures of this necklace that he said he had given to me as a gift. Said that we were dating and I had decided to break it off and flush the necklace down the toilet. I tried to tell college security that was all a lie, but this guy was really convincing. So they made me be the one that was punished. I had to miss 2 days of class due to a disciplinary suspension. This actually went on for a few months. Craig would always have something to do the days that this guy would follow me around campus. And he knew how to lie his way out of any situation. It was unnerving because no matter where I went, he was there too. And he was smart enough to not ever bother me when anyone else was around. But when I was alone, he would always try to get close to me. One time he grabbed me and pinned me to a wall. I think he expected I was going to scream or something, because he smiled and said he liked when I played hard to get. Only thanks to 2 girls walking by did he let me go. I usually would have to go hide in the bathroom until it was time for my next course, and even then he was just standing there waiting outside. Eventually it got really bad because he had convinced a lot of people at the campus that we were sleeping with each other. Like I said, this guy was smart. He was a good student, never got in trouble. And he was convincing. Even Craig almost believed that story because somehow the guy was photoshopping me into pictures with him on Instagram. It was almost the end of the semester by this point and I had enough, so I found an excuse to use some sick time and stay at home until time for finals. But this guy actually came to my dorm and tried to get in. That was the last straw for me, because even after I managed to prove to officers that he was the culprit, he managed to smooth talk his way out of trouble again. Craig was the one who suggested I should just drop out and finish fall classes, so that's what I did. I changed my number and moved back in with my parents. I think sometimes after that at night this guy would try to sneak over and see if my window was open because I caught a figure on the street a few times late at night, but eventually after my dad bought a home security system he stopped. Still rattles me to this day that I think I was this close to getting really hurt. My mom owned a truck diner, and when I was little I helped out by waiting tables. All the drivers that would come through would always call me a little lady, and it made me feel like I was being responsible, and Mom seemed to appreciate it. There was this one driver though that really bothered me. I was only 10 or 11 at the time, but even at that age this guy gave me a predator vibe. My mom had always taught me be careful with strangers and not overly friendly, and I think I usually followed that advice. But thinking about this driver, I'm honestly not sure if I was too friendly or what exactly made him decide to be obsessed with me. Anytime he came in, he would always get really chatty with my mom and with me, asking about our lives, my pets, my favorite toys. Anything really. I thought at first he was just really a big talker. Lonely. A lot of the truckers were. Even at that age, I knew it had to be hard constantly traveling. When he left though, Mom warned me that I shouldn't talk to him much if he ever came back in. Something about him was off, and even she could sense that. He did come by often to our diner, at least 2 or 3 times a month. I remember he said that he worked long hauls in the area, and this was the only place that served good pumpkin pie. Your mama is an amazing cook. Shame your daddy left her, huh? He told me one day. I don't really know if I responded, but I distinctly remember him asking, "Don't you sometimes wish you had a new daddy?" It freaked me out and I went to hide in the kitchen until he left. I didn't tell Mom, honestly don't know why. She did ask me, but I just said I was sick. Next time he came in, Mom actually had to go take care of business and I was alone for like maybe an hour. I really was actually surprised when I saw him, but I couldn't just ignore a customer. So I offered him a tray, and I remember that he apologized for before. I blame myself for second guessing because I accepted it, and then he asked me where Mom was. Without thinking, I told him she wasn't there. "She left you here alone?" he asked in surprise. But you know how sometimes people say things and they sound like pleasant about them? That's how this guy sounded. He was happy to hear my mom wasn't there. He asked when she was coming back. I told him I didn't know. Then he said something out of the blue. "Do you like dogs?" I was 10. Of course I did. "I have a puppy out in my truck. Want to go see?" I thank my lucky stars my mom taught me not to be so gullible. I was uneased by the offer and told him that I couldn't leave the diner unattended, especially since Mom wasn't there. I even suggested he could show me the dog next time. "Oh, it's for my little girl. She's about your age. Next time I come through she won't be with me." Come on, it will only take a second. I regret that I didn't say no. I think honestly I was scared he would do something if I did say no. He insisted that his truck was right outside and I followed. But I really did feel scared out of my mind. I saw his big truck and stopped about 10 feet away. You gotta get up in the cab, he told me. I shook my head no. Ah, come on, I have a toy in there too. You said you like Barbies, right? I was surprised that he remembered. And then he really surprised me when I saw he wasn't lying. He reached into his truck and took out this brand new in-the-box Barbie doll. And I saw the dog too. It was a small boxer, wagging its tail. For a split second, I let my guard down and took a few more steps toward him. Somehow, before I reached his truck, my mom appeared out of nowhere. I don't know if she had telepathy or what, but she chewed the driver out and dragged me back inside. What were you thinking? She screamed at me later. After that incident, she refused to let him inside the diner. Honestly, I think that made things worse. He would start sending gifts to the diner, addressed to me. And I don't mean ordinary things. I'm talking about like clothes, fancy dresses. My mom was at her wit's end for about a month. When the stuff came in, she would toss it in the trash. She tried to call her sister to come watch me during the day. But the diner was pretty off the road, and my aunt always claimed she was too busy. Put her back in public school, Tammy said. But Mom said that the schools were too far away and she liked me close, especially now that I had a stalker. I think sometime later she contacted a state trooper about the trucker, gave the officer a description, and let them take all of the gifts that she had chosen to not throw away. Maybe get some fingerprints. I didn't really know if they ever found anything because about 2 months after that, Mom decided to move out of town. I asked her about it a few years back. Some memory had clicked it back into my brain, and she got very quiet. That man was going to take you. I think he probably would have killed you had I not been there that day, she said with a shudder. She told me that the cops had never found out who he was, despite all the things that he had sent me. And creepiest of all, she told me that he had sent me love letters. She had held onto one of them, thinking maybe one day she would contact the FBI. But after we moved, I guess the stalker had decided to move on. The letter said that he wanted to raise me, that I was a beautiful girl and I deserved a good father. It sounded sweet on the surface, nothing damning. Typed out, of course, so no way to trace it. I'm convinced after reading the letter that this guy was going to kidnap me, and probably a lot worse. I've been told to share this story online a dozen times and just never had the guts. I think that's probably because no matter how safe I feel, I get the feeling that I'm still being watched. This happened back in 2013. I had just graduated from high school and got my first job working retail at a local neighborhood Walmart. My manager was a guy named Billy. At the time I was hired, he originally had me running the self-checkouts, but I'll admit I wasn't exactly enjoying the idea of having to be on my feet all day, so I asked if I could work at the money center or the cigarette counter. Money center was only allowed for employees who had been there for 6 months or longer, but he did say there was an opening over for cigarettes and tobacco. For some reason nobody seemed to want it, and of course, because I was the new fish, they didn't explain to me. It didn't take long before I figured it out though. There was this underage kid that came in frequently and tried to buy some Marlboro Lights, and of course I always asked for ID, and that scared him away. Well, at first he did. Then he started showing up later in the day, when it was near the end of my shift, and he was becoming a lot more insistent about cigarettes. Finally I got his name. He claimed that it was Matt. Honestly, I don't have a clue and still don't to this day. First I tried to be firm but friendly. Matt, I like you, but this stuff can ruin your health. Matt, I don't think you realize how addictive these things are. Sometimes he would just stop by and chat, and I got the impression he was starting to flirt. That was when I decided to switch from being nice to laying down the law. "Matt, if I report you to the cops for coming in here and pestering me about smokes, you could get thrown in juvie," I remember warning him. I figured that would end the conversation when he hightailed it out of there. That evening on my way to my car, though, Matt approached me in the parking lot. Honestly, it felt like he had been waiting for me to clock out. I hurried to my car to leave, but he was right there behind me. I reached for my keys where I normally keep a small can of mace, but he moved faster, grabbing my purse and running off across the lot and jumping over a nearby fence. Of course, I reported the whole thing to the police, and they got permission to check the cameras. Somehow Matt seemed to be aware of where the cameras were positioned because none of the angles showed his face. The cops told me to call again if I got bothered again, and my manager said they would get security to walk me to my car each night. A week passed by without incident. Then another. Honestly, I kind of forgot about Matt and figured he just grabbed my spare cash to go get his fix somewhere else. A month or so later, I was on Facebook when I got a friend request from someone named Leon Carroll. No profile pic. No info besides just generic stuff that looked fake. And then a message. "You are really pretty." I ignored it. Then I got 3 similar messages from other dummy accounts. Again, I ignored them all and reported to Facebook. Been around the block enough times to not respond to those scams. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until another message came in with a picture of my house. "Stop ignoring me," the message said. Something in my brain clicked that this had to be the kid from Walmart, so I called the cops then and there. Living in a small town, we don't have a cyber unit, so again, I felt like I was wasting my breath. "Sounds like it's just an admirer to me," was what one officer even dared to tell me. When I got off work that night, I found out that my admirer had also decided to vandalize my car. "Stop ignoring me" was chalked out in bold capital letters on my front door that night. I felt like I just couldn't make a move without this weird kid knowing. Every day on my break, he would send a different anonymous message, usually something really perverted, and expect a response. It was unnerving, but I tried to act like it didn't bother me. Again, a week passed, and it seemed like he had given up. It was nearly holidays by this time, so I decided to go to a nearby Sprint store and get a new phone and make new social media so that Matt would stop bothering me. The next 2 weeks felt like a godsend. I didn't have any more threats or weird texts from dummy accounts. I felt brave enough to even create a dating profile again. I matched with a guy named Richard, who asked if I could meet up that night at a local outdoor restaurant. I was feeling confident and didn't see any reason not to. When I got there, I was dressed up, thinking I was going to meet a 20-something guy. Instead, when I got there, I saw who else but this kid sitting there. I think the creepiest thing was how well dressed he was. Not the scruffy little guy I had encountered a few weeks back. Instead, he was dressed to impress, and when he saw me, his eyes sparkled and he ran to meet me. "I was starting to think you wouldn't show," he said. "Matt, what the hell are you doing here?" I asked. He started rambling about how he had misjudged me, started apologizing about all the weird messages, and explaining he was having a difficult time talking to girls. "I just want to be normal. Can't we just have that?" But my red flags were brighter than ever. This kid wasn't stable. He was trying to say all the right things to me, but I didn't want to spend one more minute there with him. Somehow I managed to convince him that I was going to freshen up in the bathroom, and when I got in there, I called 911. They got there about 6 minutes later, and I remember hearing Matt scream and try to fight them when they told him that he had to come with them. Later on, I found out that he actually had brought a knife with him because one of the officers said that he had tried to pull it and they tossed him. He got sent to juvie like I predicted. Later found out that he was staying at the local homeless shelter and had apparently kept a whole binder full of photos he had taken of me. Some of them had weird love notes attached. Honestly, I feel sorry for the kid. He started out awkward, and I thought maybe being friendly would have been the answer to make him get on the right course. Anyway, after that, I stopped working the cigarettes counter and got a new job at the hardware store across town. Sometimes I forget about him altogether. And then sometimes I still get anonymous messages and it triggers me.